Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Rangers Radio. I'm Southside, and joining me on the show this evening is AK and Port Bear. Evening, gentlemen.
Evening Southside, evening Port Bear, and evening to the Rangers Radio listeners.
How are you, Port? Port's on mute. Port's on mute.
Come on, Mini Bridge.
Here he comes, here he comes.
How we doing, Trips? You all right? I'm good. Everyone's good down the Port. Everyone's good down here, Trips.
Oh, good to hear it, my man. Good to hear it. I'll give all the Trips on the YouTube feed a shout out. I see they're all piling in this evening, so good evening to all them in the YouTube feed, and good evening to everyone obviously listening in this evening. So obviously I've not spoke to you two guys for a while. I'll go to you, Port, first. We'll touch on it because it's been battered, I think, last night, and obviously done a pre-show, but we'll touch on it and then we can obviously move on. Your thoughts on the game at the weekend?
Going to say probably the worst performance of the season so far, mate, that I've saw. It's not been a great season, as we all well know. But yet again, bipolar FC turned up, mate. You get the highs of Celtic game, you get, the performances since Barry came in. Barry gets a wee turn at the team and seems to have added a bit of fight and drive and a bit of character to them. And then the wheels come off the bogey, mate, against Hibs at Ibrox again, the place that used to be a fortress. With a record-breaking run going at Ibrox, mate. And it's just been absolutely shattered over the past 6 games. That's 6 games now, mate, without a win at Ibrox. I can't explain it. But yet again, this team, this squad, players that's been there for a long time, mate. I know there's some new ones in there, but letting down another manager, Southside, and, I could see how angry Barry was after his match, the presser and stuff. Absolutely furious, and rightly so, mate, because, as I said on the show last time I was on, bare minimum we ask for is effort, passion, drive, and we didn't see any, mate. And do you know the only time I saw it, if I'm really honest, and I thought it was a wee sort of shining light, and he's flat to deceive. I thought Barjami, when he came on, he looked hungry, he showed a bit of desire, smashes the bar, and that's the only sort of real effort I saw. But mate, flat. Worst performance this season, mate.
It was one of the games, I think. As soon as the first goal went in, I sort of had a look at the players, looking to see who was geeing up the rest of the squad and that, and didn't see much happening for many of them at all. I think one I noticed, Tav, believe it or not. But apart from that, AK, your thoughts on it?
Just following up who Port said, ridiculous performance, scandalous really, what these players have been getting allowed to get away with. Barry's scathing, and quite rightly so. He's for far too long, these players have been protected with our managers refusing to throw them under buses. Well, they're throwing the managers under buses, far too many. For my liking, leaders, distinct lack of. Nobody willing to take responsibility on the park. Pride of performance, pride of the jersey, a full house at Ibrox, and you go out and reward them with another abject performance like that. You've got people travelling through all over the UK, tuning in all over the world, and they come up with a performance like that. They're meant to be playing for places for a big game this Thursday, as we all know, and they throw in that sort of performance. Shocking, mate, shocking. I think Port's maybe got his beat there for Thursday, because if we were to recollect, that's 5 games in a row we've lost at Ibrox, so I hope it's not a 6, Port. but I know what you mean, mate.
Even just saying the thought that we've not won as many games recently at Ibrox, that's the most shocking, the worst ever in the history at the moment, and it's got to improve. I said it before the game. Disappointed with the attitude and application of some of the players. We did create a few chances in the game, but if you're not hitting the target, and Hibs really didn't do much in the first half, let's not be kidded. But they had a shot, and unfortunately for us, Jack Butland, poor. The one thing we judge our goalkeepers by, I think, over the years that we watch Rangers goalkeepers, is probably making big saves and usually being consistent. You look for the consistency level, and probably in my lifetime of watching Rangers, you probably think a goalkeeper contributes to getting you about 10 points a season. But the big man for where the boys shot for, just poor, really poor, wasn't it?
100%, mate. When you look at the shot for Levy at the edge of the box, mate, he's got sighted. At first I thought it maybe a deflection that's unsighted him, but when you see it when it's slowed down and it goes behind the goal, mate, Butland's looking right down the pipe at the ball. He can see it. But I've picked him out for this a couple of times. Look, Jack Butland's a great game for Rangers, mate, and I'm not throwing the towel on the guy, but he's erratic performance this season. Sometimes I think he's doing instalments, mate. For a guy at 6'7", he doesn't command his box like a 6'7" goalkeeper. He doesn't command his area. He's seen as one of the leadership group, part of the leadership group, mate. He's one of the experienced players. He's a player that we should be looking at to drive this team forward, to make big saves when it counts. But in 8 minutes, when the ball goes through you like that, and again it's a ball it's close to him, Southside, it's underneath him. I mean, his reactions aren't the greatest. I don't think when things are close to him, he's not very agile. He's a big lump of a boy, but he's not very agile. And it seems to be these shots that are close by his body or down low that he seems to get picked out with, at aplomb. He just seems to be, mate, he's just not agile for me at all. And it's getting out of the stage in the season where there's been a few howlers this season, even the final against them. Again, it's ball goes through him for that goal as well. So it's big moments in games that he's losing goals, mate. And then you have to look at it. When does Liam Kelly get his chance again? Is it too big a shout to say we change him for Thursday? Barry did say he's going to make changes, mate. But so far since Barry's come in, he's picked the same players over and over again, and it's now starting to make him look a wee bit. People have questioned. You've said, if I spoke to you last time, you still don't think Barry will get a job. I'm with you, mate. I believe that as well. But these things don't help the manager, mate. If he's trying to put himself in the frame for an interview, certainly for that job, because he keeps relying on the same players who are starting to let him down, mate. And I think that's how he was so angry, because he's shown a bit of loyalty to some of them, even though they had performances like they had before he even came in. Tried to wipe the slate clean, and then the same players are starting to pop up with the same abject performances, mistakes. So creeping back in against Southside, my opinion, mate.
Aye, then listen, I heard the troops talking about it last night, and I'd seen it and mentioned it myself regarding Jack Akey. When the guy asked him a question, and he mentioned the words, "I'm a top goalkeeper." But I've got sent something before I'll come to Akey, right? Because his stat is 100 games, 101 goals, with 39 clean sheets, right? That's his stat at Rangers at the moment. But when he was at Leeds, and we'll just take that for example, he had 16 games and he leaked 28 goals. When he was at Crystal Palace, 17 games, 21 goals. He went out on loan before he went back to Birmingham, where he played quite for a while. Even at Cheltenham, when he was out there, he had 24 games, 26 goals. Birmingham made 46 games, 69 conceded. And his most consistent season at Stoke City, when he played 168 games, he conceded 235 goals. So when you look at his stats, and that was with 50 clean sheets. So You look at his stats, he seems to lose a goal or two a game anyway when you look at his stats for wherever he's been before.
His stats are ridiculous, Southside. See, when you put them down in black and white like that and say that. I mean, see, for instance, you just take his Rangers career, right? 100 games, 101 goals conceded. Now, in the 100 games that he's played, he's had 39 clean sheets, I believe. So
Aye, 39.
So over 61 games, he's conceded 101 goals, which is over 1.5 goals for every game. You know, that's scandalous. That's, and I don't know what Butland does, but he's estimated to be surplus of 35 grand a week. You know, he's a top earner because he came in a free transfer. We don't need to pay the transfer fee. This is the way the business the club's been doing. So because of that, they saved themselves on a transfer fee, so they gave him a massive wage to entice him to the club. That's ridiculous, these stats. If I never see Jack Butland in a Rangers jersey again, I wouldn't lose any sleep in it. If I didn't see Cyril Dessers in a Rangers strip again, I wouldn't lose any sleep with it. And I'll tell you another one, Tavernier, captain, leader, legend, no for me. I would be stripping the captaincy off of Tavernier, send a message to that dressing room. See when Barry came in initially, I don't know what you guys thought. See when he's saying, I look Tavernier in the eye, and are you going to be with me? Are you going to, give everything for the cause to give me my best chance of getting my dream job? I believe in you. I trust in you. Who's he tell that to? Clement, no longer there. Beale, no longer there. Gio, no longer there. It's far too much a coincidence now. That's the leaders out in our team. See, as soon as the instructions that they gave the managers and the coaches and that, the players, they can give them all the analytical stuff in the world that they've been doing the preparation for a week. They've done it on the training field, and then they put in a performance like that. That comes down to the leaders on the part for me. And Butland, Dessers, Tavernier, that's your three biggest culprits out of the lot of them. So that would be for me. If Barry wants to send a statement to that dressing room and to Rangers support that I'm not accepting this, with they three guys are on the hit list, then two of them they drop right away. Butland, Dessers, captaincy, get to the asking, put them on their place and send a statement out to them. It's getting that serious now. That's how I feel about it.
Aye, it's the magnitude of the game. Port on Thursday night, a European quarter final, where normally you'd be thinking Butland's going to play, and I still think he will play. To be honest, I don't think he should, but I think if you look at him in form, when he's in form, he's been decent in the European campaign, and he's been shocking in his league performances. Of late, in our calendar year, has been pointed out, but I just think, I'll ask you, do you think Barry will stick with him, or do you think, because if he takes him out of the team, I believe then Kelly's got to play at the end of the season. He's in then at the end of the season, because you wouldn't take him out for one game and then put him back in. So I think that's the call that's got to come. If Kelly goes in on Thursday, then he stays in at the end of the season, I would believe.
No, I agree with that, mate. But I do think, yet again, Barry will stick by the tried and tested, and he'll stick by Tav, he'll stick by Butland, and he'll stick by Dessers, mate. I really think that will happen. He's probably looking at it from an experience point of view, mate. He's probably trying to keep all the experience in the team. I know Liam Kelly's got league experience, but in Europe, he'll probably argue, they're at different levels of their career at this point. To me, it's the old saying, I played the game, so, rewarding poor performances. When do you start looking? It's a manager that we then start looking at. If he keeps rewarding performance after performance, like we got in Saturday, 3 o'clock, and these players still keep showing up to the teammate, then we start to go like that, the manager's lost in the plot. What's going on? Why did he keep sticking by these guys? They're throwing them under a bus. But I do think they'll start, mate. And then I'll also touch on other players that are suffering because, mate, you've got guys like Raskin, you've got guys like Igaman who's getting stuck out on the left, probably were prize asset, mate. The prize asset at Ibrox, in my opinion. The guy that could make us a fortune. Scores a hat-trick the last time he plays against Hibs. Could have scored the fourth, get the winner, smashes the bar. And suddenly he's found himself since Dessers has got this wee renaissance in his Rangers career. And I know people say his work rate's great, and it is. I'm not doubting his work rate. But if you look at the chances in the last few games, mate, he's had, you're talking, on average, he's got to get 10 chances before he scores one. Whereas Igman, the Celtic game, bang, not long and smashes it into the roof of the net, gets the winner. As I said, hat-trick before against Hibs. And all of a sudden, the wee man can't get a crack up through the middle, where it's clearly his best position, mate. I just think he's like a fish out of water on the left. And he still managed to slip Dessers in a couple of times against Hibs. I mean, he has got a creative spark to him, but he's definitely a goal scorer, mate. And so that's another thing. You're watching and you're going, what's this boy got to do to get a crack up through his position where he was shown as he was strong? What you don't want to do, mate, is upset any other players, because they'll be thinking the same. They'll be thinking, God, what have I got to do to get a crack in goal because Butland's form's crap? What have I got to do to get in the right back slot because my captain's not been absolutely great? And then Dessers scores, he's got to get 10 chances before he gets one. So when does it start affecting the players to the point where, what have I got to do? You know what I mean?
I understand. It's the fact that he's no in form, and he's just trapping howlers consistently now, and that's a big decision for Barry and the management team to make on Thursday night. It's, do I take a chance and play him? Because let's be honest, they're a big team, right? They've got a lot of big height in their team, and he would be better coming out supposedly most of the time for cross balls. He would make a difference. He's 6'5", he does fill the goal, but at the end of the day, if you're dropping simple things that's coming to headers, you're meant to be collecting a shot for 25 yards that you should just be parrying away or just collecting it into your chest. These are the things that you'll have to weigh up in training. I think you'll go for experience, to be honest, AK. I just think you'll play him, but if I was going down to Ibrox on Thursday and he's on the team sheet and it's Kelly, then fair enough. I'll say Bill probably deserves his chance, but it's some magnitude to come back in and play again in that type of game. But you're meant to be ready to play for Rangers when called upon.
So he said, you must be most frustrated out of everybody that's been on this show. You follow the Rangers home and away. You've seen the clangers firsthand, what Butland's thrown up there now. It's not just one or two mistakes. Minox has been on about it for the last few shows there. Allbear's been on about it all season. You can pinpoint the mistakes. It's not from month to month now. It's gone from week to week, to game to game. There, that one Saturday, straight up and basically threw him. He palms one out at Dundee. Guy comes in off the spill, goal. Motherwell, basically a pass back at Ibrox, spilled it, goal. Then you decision making at St Mirren, comes out and clatters the boy for absolutely no reason. Penalty, goal. Man United threw one in the net, and all, goal. For all his display, good display and good performance that night, we're still losing stupid goals because of him. When you're on about protecting the players, stop protecting the players. The players have been protected for long enough. These guys are on millions of pounds a year, and we're worried about, they're going to burst into tears if you start shouting at them. That's maybe been the problem. They've been protected for far too long, and the managers have lost their jobs because of it. Stop protecting them. We're paying good money. We're following the team for as long as what we have to go and see, men's performances. You're no wee boys anymore. You don't deserve to get protected if you're throwing in performances like that. Alec Ferguson, 1990 FA Cup final. He's a Jim Leighton all his career. He's won titles, cups, European trophies with Aberdeen, all places. Goes to Man United, 3 each with Crystal Palace, and he made the massive decision, I can't trust this keeper of mine anymore. I need to bring in Les Sealy. Man United win the trophy. That's what managers have today. It's not about for the benefit of the player, it's the benefit of the team and what benefits the club. We cannot keep Butland in goal for Thursday. We cannot. He's too many clangers. Nobody trusts him. The managers doesn't trust him, the players doesn't trust him, and I'm sure as hell the supporters don't trust him. Kelly's not the best, we all know that, but he's the best at what we've got. Kelly came in for the 3-0 game at the start of the year for the Celtic game, and we beat them 3-0. I didn't hear anybody question his credentials then, and it's the same with Dessers at the other end of the park. How can you trust a striker that's had 17 chances to score 1 goal? In the last 5 games at Ibrox, we played and get beat with Queen's Park, St Mirren, Motherwell, Fenerbahce, Hibs. You know, we've scored 1 goal. We can't trust these players anymore. Nah, Barry, it's time to absolutely go for the throat with all these guys now. If we lose against all the Atletico Bilbao, well, so what? We're expected to, the bookies expected to, probably everybody in the Scotland and Europe expects us to. But there's a burning desire in there that Barry and his coaching staff will be spewing. They're fizzing for the weekend. They're watching that, working on them all week, and then they show up with that sort of performance. No, the players in that dressing room are done now, and he needs to start, you know, making big decisions for the benefit of the club, no for benefit of individual players. That's how I see it.
Aye, I agree with what you say, AK. At the end of the day, we're turning up and the performance they're putting in. My argument would be, I don't know if I'd go gung-ho for Thursday night, because there is players in there, and if he fits the system in place, which you might have to with who's available in the squad, after the European game and going to Pittodrie on Sunday, Port, it wouldn't bother me if I seen Cortez out in the park, I seen the Bailey Rice on the park, I seen maybe Cortez come off after 60, bring Finlay Curtis on for the last half hour, see Ignaman and Danilo up front in some capacity. If I looked at the back, even I'd even refresh it and try and put Fernandez in there, since we brought him here on loan, and apart from Queen's Park coming on, nobody saw him, apart from on the bench, here or there. I would just start changing it and get a freshness about the team going forward, because everybody else just gave it up anyway. So apart from that, that's the way I would try and go. I would just try and change it and freshen it and see if we can get performances out the players that probably want to be here that can't get in the team at the moment.
Yeah, totally agree, mate. Think about it going forward, right? Going forward, obviously depending on what happens on Thursday, we've got to start thinking about taking this team forward, Southside. And what I mean is, in my opinion, this whole squad are under a microscope right now. So is Barry Ferguson, and that's in terms of obviously the new investors coming in. I'd be very surprised, mate, if they've not already got like a manager sort of lined up who's been given a sort of dossier and has already started to watch this team, already start to try, you know, to discuss players behind the scenes and that. I know, mate. And because I think we'd be very silly to just be sitting on our backsides, sitting on our hands, and just hoping that a new manager's going to come in at the start of the new season and try and get this team forward, mate. I think, like you said, we need to find out who's going forward ways now. And I think the best way to do that, as you said, after Europe, say we go, I think it's time to, as you said, have a shake-up, get players that's not had their chances under Barry, because there's a few players yet that have just been back for injury, etc., who've not had a fair crack. I don't think Danilo's had a fair crack under Barry since he's come in. And I think we need to find out quickly, as I said, who's with the club that wants to go forward, who can we rely on. I think that's what the remaining games should be used for, mate. Season's done, mate. Season's finished. So it's try to keep this team up to a level where we don't let them think the season's finished, because they're playing for their professional pride and they're playing for their futures. I think that's where Barry has to put this across to them, mate. Because I think a lot of these players, mate, will fully understand and fully know about the takeover, right? So they know their futures are up in there because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know who their manager's going to be. They probably know it's not going to be Barry. So we're all in a difficult situation, and I'm not defending them, Southside. What I'm saying is, for me, it would be very difficult to try and, understand where we're going, because as a player, what's happening, what's going on, who's going to be our manager, am I going to be here, am I not going to be here? So it's Barry Ferguson's job, like I said on before. A lot of people slag him about his tactical nouns and all that carry on, but as a motivator and a guy that's prepping this current squad and the one that's going to go forward, he is the man to prep them and get them ready for whoever's going to come in under the new regime. But it's difficult, mate. It's difficult when there's nothing really to play for apart from Europe. And by the way, don't be surprised if we go out there on Thursday and have a typical Thursday night at Ibrox, mate. Don't be surprised, because I said this bipolar team, our Jekyll and Hyde team, what you want to call us, this is the season so far. We've seen us playing at top level against good European sides, and then we come back and play St Johnstone and get pumped. You know what I mean? So, don't be surprised if we get a result, mate. But I think we need to find out, like I says, who's ways and who's not, so that going forward to next season, the preparation starts like now, if you like, mate.
I just think after Thursday night, AK, in the league games that's left, I would like to see Clinton and Ciala come back into the team more regular, game a run of games. I'd like to try and get Cortez on the park because he's back fit. So get him a run of games in the team. At the end of the day, we're having to fork out the money for him. So let's get him on the park, and then also try and get Finlay Curtis on the park at times, or the two of them if you have to in certain games. If you were resting Czerny or no playing him on Sunday, or he comes off, then you put Curtis on, or you put on Cortez. I just want to see Finlay Curtis get a run of games. We gave him a 4-year deal because next season when we start again, the pressure's on and we're supposed to be going up a level. So you'd want to see if these boys have got anything about them on a regular basis, Bailey Rice or not, AK.
100%, mate. 100%. I was just going to say that. I'd like to see Bailey Rice. In fact, I would throw Bailey Rice in on Thursday. You know that? It's got that bad who Barry can thrust out of that squad. You could tell he was hurting. It might not have been the language that Bridgeman or a few of their other older senior supporters would like to hear, kind of Barry throwing them under a bus a bit. But you know what? They've had every other sort of dealings with their manager protecting them, and they've got character, and I didn't see that coming. Barry said that 3 times in the 7 games that he's been in charge at the team. So if he didn't see it coming, geez, you know what I mean? It's just, we're running out of excuses with the players now. Characters. We're on about character of the team. We shouldn't be 3-1 down at Dundee. We shouldn't be going behind and down at Kilmarnock. That they should be par for the course games if we wanted to win this league. That's where you need to go and get the points. But we seem to be falling, 2 goals behind. I think is that 8 games he's been in charge, and 6 games we've fell 2 behind. Even the Fenerbahce game at Ibrox, Southside, your heart must be in your mouth when we go 2-0 down again, because there's only one team that looked in the ascendancy there, and it wasn't us. But thankfully we came through the extra time and through the penalties. We thought we would get a boost of confidence with that. We thought we would get a boost of confidence with going to Celtic Park and coming away with a victory. And then they throw in another abject performance, and then another one. See, for the start of this season, of this year, this calendar year, Celtic have dropped 14 points in the league. We currently sit 13 points behind them. We could be getting into that top 6 with a realistic chance of what we done last year, they actually going on to win the league. But we do, our players, they dropped 18 points. We've lost to Hibs, Motherwell, St Mirren twice. We've drew to Hibs, Dundee and Motherwell away. 18 points we dropped. They've dropped 14. Hibs have actually, over the last 15 games, they are the top forum team in Scotland. How laughable is that? And how much an indictment is that on the quality or the lack of quality that we've got currently playing in our strip this season? It's ridiculous, mate.
Aye, they are. As you said, I said Friday night, I think it was, they went 15 undefeated. They were a sort of form team coming into the game. On average, Port, we are leaking 2 goals a game. And as usual, be like another 2 goals. But it's just attitude, and it's where we are. This is where we are in the league. EK is right. If we'd been a lot better in the points that we've dropped at all these gruns and games, and even games we were in the lead, even against Hibs at Easter Road, we're blowing them away. And then for some reason, after half an hour, we chuck it. All right, get a debatable penalty later on in the game. They get a goal back, and then we go in front again. There's games when we've been 2-0 down before we've even got started, even when we've won the game with Kilmarnock a while back. But in other games against Motherwell and stuff like that for part. So it's down to, I always say, it's down to the attitude and application of the players. Sometimes you might say tactically whatever, but we've created a lot of chances in all these games. And our goalkeeper's obviously been to blame for a few of these games as well, where he's cost us goals or points at the end of the day. Port.
Inconsistency, mate. Inconsistency is an absolute killer for us. You know, it's my manager touched on it. Neil McCann started off last week for me. I was on a show last week with Oxford and Bridge, and it was after Neil McCann's presser. Great presser. Neil McCann spoke a lot of words that got us all excited. Told us, you know, how he felt as Barry was as a manager, etc. And I was honestly pumped. I was after that presser, mate. I was absolutely pumped, thinking, you know, this is like a good week in training. You know, with a week to prep against Hibs. We know the signs are all there. There were 15 games unbeaten. We see how they play. We know what they do. Martin Boyle comes to Ibrox, and it's like we give him the keys to the castle, mate. We know exactly. We know as fans watching the games. We know what Martin Boyle's all about. We know how Hibs play. We know how they set up. And yet again, Martin Boyle gets to run the show, mate. 32 years of age, and he's still walking by your players at pace. You know, and just that chance he breaks through, mate. And you know, I'm like, where the hell are we? Where were we? You know, it's just the inconsistency, mate, is absolutely killing us. And as the manager touched on, it's all right getting up for games against them across the city. Thursday nights, they're easy. That's the easy games to get up for. That's, you know, that's you're expected to do that. But your bread and butter is St Johnstone, Motherwell, Kilmarnock. That's your bread and butter south side. They're the games that win your league. We've beat Celtic twice this year, and we're still 16 points again behind them in the league. We lose against Hibs. What happens in the next day? They go beat us St Johnstone. So again, another missed chance, mate. Inconsistency, mate. This has got to change. I keep saying it. We need to get back to domestic dominance. This team need to learn that. Play against the big teams, play well against the big teams. But Oxford, I've heard Bob G saying it as well. I've heard lots of ones phoning in. All the callers have all said that get up to a wet night, you know, at Dundee or, you know, whatever it may be. We don't go up for these games, mate. We do not go up for these games, and these are often now the games that seem to matter. The sooner our squad learns that the bread and butter is what we want, the important bit to us. I keep saying it, you know, I always say this, mate. Europe's gravy, understand the money, but I want domestic dominance, and this squad need to learn it quick.
Well, that's when you've got to ask then wherein lies the question. Is it done to the managers that we're putting into the job, or is it done to the players? And the players will all have to go, basically, because none of them seem to be able to cope with the demands or be consistent on a regular basis. Even I've said on here before, usually when we're beat or we're playing rotten, you can maybe say, well, he was no bad, or he tried, or he was decent, he'd no a bad game, and the rest of them were just poor. But usually we say they were all rotten at one time. So when one drops or two drop off, they all drop off. So what is it? Do we need to make sure the manager's right this time, that knows, or does it come down to recruitment? Who's going to be recruiting the players? What type of players we need to get? Or is it just down to the players we've got? Can we get the attitude to change for them? Okay, well, can we keep if Raskin stays, because he's got to, although he's having good games, he's still part of the attitude problem, because when they all fall off, he falls off at the same time. So I'm not going to excuse him. We're saying it's a collective, or we know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you two guys have played football at a decent level. I've played balls at a decent level, but it's the same mindset. You're in a dressing room, you're getting a team talk after a manager or a team captain or whatever, and you're getting basically motivated to go out there and try your best, try your efforts. I mean, obviously, that was a lot more professional than what balls is, but it's the same kind of ethos and mentality. If you don't go out there and your pride and performance, your application isn't spot on, you're not going to win. So it comes down to the same mindset, whatever sport it is that you're playing. If you're going out there with the wrong attitude, the wrong application, you think you're just going to show up because you're playing with, Rangers or whoever, you're going to come unstuck, because Hibs are going to come out there and they're going to battle for every ball. Dundee are going to battle for every ball. You look at the teams that's beat us there. They've no beat us because they're better teams than us. They beat us because they wanted it more. I mean, Motherwell, we're losing at home to Motherwell. We're drawing away to Fir Park. St Mirren beat us twice, home and away. Dundee, come on. That's no Rangers. Barry's right with that phrase. That's no Rangers. That's no the Rangers teams that he grew up in. And Walter, watched as a wee boy, and obviously was fortunate enough to manage the team. That's where it comes from. It comes from within. As soon as you cross that white line, it's then up to the players. And if they don't recognise what they've got, they're playing at a full house side, which they're getting wined and dined in the top hotels, first class travel away to Bilbao, away to all over Europe, top hotels, Turnberry and all that. They're staying at when they're going up to lose my track of thing here, but up at St Andrews or that, when they're going to Dundee, they're staying in 5-star establishments. That's the sort of club that these players are playing with. They've never played at a bigger club, and they'll never play at a bigger club once they leave us. But they're throwing it in their face. We're making them millionaires. They don't have it. So we need to call them out. What's the point of sticking with these guys and expecting them just to show up when it suits them? Nah. Start making strong decisions. I mean, Barry's been landed with it. He isn't the manager to take us forward, but managers before him have been the problem with no making the strong decisions, with keeping Tavernier as your captain. That's who the younger players look up to. Your Raskins, your Barons, your Jefties. They're going to look up to Dessers, Tavernier, Butland. What sort of effort and application are they getting? They're no getting it. They're making mistakes. And then they're laughing it off. Oh, that's me missed an R1. Oh, that's me dropped an R1 in the net. Tavernier will hide. That's no a leader. That's no a Rangers captain. We've said it for long enough, and we've done nothing about it. So we've put ourselves in this position. We need a full clear out. And I don't know where we're going to go Southside. I really don't. But we're at the end of our tether because we've seen it all for long enough.
Well, there's a lot I've actually forgot. The phone lines are always open. The minute we open the show and we come on, the phone lines are open. But I think we'll get the phone lines open. They'll just make it official, but it was opened anyway. It was just, there's lots of talking points. Should Butland play on Thursday? You're talking about Tav and Butland and Dessers getting called out for their form and attitude and whatever you're saying. We've got, and also we're looking to try and blood some of the youth players if we could going forward. So if it's all right with you two guys, I think we'll hear what we'll get the phone lines opened there.
Crack on, mate. Let's have these. Yep.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Port, would you start Wignaman or Danilo on Thursday night?
I think it's time for a change up there, mate. I do, as I said earlier on, he's my prize asset. He's a guy that I think will make Rangers 15 to 20 million in Igman. But I don't want the boy continue getting played out of position and getting disillusioned, and then his seed drops. So the guy plays a smile on his face. He's got unbelievable skill. Yeah, he's quite raw, mate. He's still raw. But when it comes to finishing, mate, you know, he's a great finisher, mate. And it's both feet. The perfect hat trick he scored against Hibs, left, right, header. And as I said, could have won the match with the one he smashed off the bar. I think because he's a bit of a maverick, mate, and that's what I like about him. You know, he's unpredictable, and I think that sort of forward would really cause them hassle, mate. You know, anybody he's played against, he's made it really difficult for them, mate. So, and just on form, again, Desmond back to that way where he's scoring very little. Every time he drops his backside, he's up moaning. He's always in the FC and moaning. As I said, I'm not going to slag his work ethic, mate. I'm not going to slag his work rate, because that's not in question. But when it comes to quality and finding that net, mate, well, he's found wanting in such a big match. So I would definitely, and Danilo, as I said earlier on, not had a fair crack on the Barry Ferguson.
Right, all right. I think we've just been... That looks like a face for Crime Watch, actually, by the way, so it does. Doesn't it? I think we've been joined for James for Tennessee. How you doing, pal?
Well, I'll give you my face for a change. I said you should have live shows with your faces, so I'm just giving you a hint.
Put that away, James. Put that away.
Why are you topless, James? Why are you topless?
I'm not. I've got a nice shirt on. Look. I've got a nice shirt and jacket on. Went to see my son.
Smart, mate. Very smart.
I thank you. Right, okay, I'll get right into it. And you know maybe the subject I'm going to talk about. If I was Barry, I would have I'll say something first. In 2016, when I lived in Chorley, Rangers signed Tavernier and Martin Waghorn. Now, Tavernier, I've said many a times, is a very nice guy, but he's not a guy you would take in a war with you. He's too soft. And Scottish football is a war. You've got to get stuck in, you've got to win the duels, etc. And I still think I would have moved him into midfield or something. Any new manager, how many managers he went through? Any new manager, and Barry should have just said, look, you're playing in midfield or even up front. You even play him up front would be better than Dessers, who's been terrible. And I've said this before, give people 2-year contracts from England because they want to go back home. Scotland's okay unless they really love it. After 1 year, they've got to hit the ground running or they get sold the following year. Simple as that. Dowell, I've watched Dowell a couple of times, looking great. And the first division is a better league than us. We would find it difficult sometimes in some of the games of first division. It's better football than the Scottish Premiership. All the English teams would be above most of the teams except Rangers and Celtic. So I watched Dowell. He scored a fantastic goal. He's taken the corners. Tavernier's been taking corners and everything for years and years and years, holding up play. What manager would have let people do that? He's got too much influence at Rangers because he's been there a long time. He calls the shots. So what do you think of that?
So you're not giving him a testimonial then, James, no?
Yeah, give him what you want. I'm not, you can give him what you want, but what I'm saying is all the managers that ever come in, there was a real problem in his defensive, just like Hefty as well. The Rangers review, I told you, I was on at one time, the manager said in the Cyprus team, we can let him go because he's a bad defender, but we still bought him because he can run with the ball. You know what I mean? They made too many bad buys, too many bad decisions. The club's been run very badly for years, giving people massive contracts, and they're too nice. They're too nice instead of saying, well, if you don't move, you're dropped. You'll never play for us again. You know what I mean? You'll never play for us.
I'll come to Port. Port, what do you think of what James was saying also? Is Cotton doing a good job then, if we're looking at the players that we're looking at now?
Called out on here a few weeks back, mate, about Neil's cop, and I said he was coppable. I said that, it's all right always looking at the manager. The manager will always be the guy that takes the can. He'll always be the guy that ends up getting bagged because either players down and tools on them, performance, attitude, all the things that we've seen about this squad. And these players have been at the club for a long, long time. And and then you step down it and you look, right, sorry, who gets the players? And I said before, Niels Coppin is coppable. He is a guy that is, along with Clement and the scouts who have been out and scouted these players and said, what is your philosophy? What is your system? And we'll go and get the players to suit what you need. So it's not like the old days where Walter Smith would go and look at players, scout players and buy their players. I think that's a thing that should maybe come back, mate, because I think too many managers, and it's not just us, it's through the length and breadth of Britain and Europe, are relying on a director of football, scouts, who, by the way, directors of football sometimes name what the philosophy and what the ethos and tactics going to be at a club, and the managers to just go with it. So, no, Niels Coppin, mate, it's definitely coppable. And I think it's very important, I touched on this the last time under the new regime, that we get the right director of football to suit the manager and it works together in harmony. It can't be disjointed that you're picking my players, because at the end of the day, like I say, the man that always gets the can and gets the sack is a manager, whereas everybody else stays status quo at the club, which in my opinion is not fair, mate.
Aye. I think AK will be pretty similar, James. I don't know if you heard him, but he wasn't too complimentary of James Tavernier and Dessers at the moment in Butland, AK.
It's good to have somebody on that's speaking some sense, James. Thank you. No, listen, we're just at the end of our tether now. We're watching this, and it's just becoming unacceptable. The trophy count in the last 11, 12 years is unacceptable for our support, our club. We thought we'd got the monkey off the back. We win in 55. We thought we would kick on. We listened to Gerrard, fix the roof when the sun is shining. He asked the board for funds. They didn't come up with it, and he filters off. And then for there, it's been a downward spiral. We're only left with James Tavernier for a team that got to a European final just, 3 years ago in Seville. But we've not replaced them with the same sort of quality. Obviously for valid reasons, because Clement was coming in with a 10-year reducing the wage bill, and because of that we have to reduce the quality, and here we go around the cycle of doom again. It's been a decade of doom, and the Rangers support are just at the end of their tether with it. We need a new direction. So I'm glad that the potential new owners are coming in, although I'm a wee bit apprehensive with their intentions is with the club. I hope it's for the better for the club we all do. But as far as Coppin, I think him and Clement had a blueprint to go forward, but because Clement's not there anymore, I don't see how Coppin can last. The two of them have got to be in tandem. I'm in agreement with Portbear. Your manager and your director of football have got to be in the same sheet. For me, when we go European with our manager and we go European with our director of football, you're going to get European players, and this is where we come unstuck. I think James has said it before. When we're going to Dundee and Ross Counties, St Mirren's, Motherwell, you need character. You need players that play our division. They don't necessarily need to be Scottish, but your Olasanyas and guys like that. Simon Murray, we could have had him years ago. We could have had Lawrence Shanklin years ago, Lewis Ferguson years ago, but the snobbiness of the Rangers support turned their nose up at them. I think we need to go down that sort of line where you need not the best players, but players that can roll up the sleeves, get tore in, and then let the 3, 4, 5 better European players, because that has been the blueprint of success of our club for decades, not just under Walter or under Souness. So I think we've got to go back to the board for that one.
You've always said about players, James, and sometimes you've went out down the European route and stuff like that in the past. We've all said on here for a long time, I think you need to get some Scottish players into your squad and into your team. And I suppose if you're looking at the moment, you've added probably Lyle Cameron into it, who we don't know whether the squad's going to go up a big level in player quality or whether we're going to still be in the same sort of market as what we've been in. But I'm expecting Rangers to be selling some players, James, at the same time to at least be splashing between 25 and 30 million pounds. and see where we get to in that sort of market with amount of players.
Yeah. You could get players in Scotland for maybe 2,000 to 5,000 a week, and they'd be better players and more effort than the ones that we have. They let Lewis Ferguson go. No, I mean, how did they? That was the biggest mistake ever, not buying him. His dad's always on about he comes home from Italy, goes to the games and all that. We let him go. There's too many people. The board have got a lot to answer for. They couldn't run anything, to be honest. They've made tremendous mistakes all over the place. Edmiston House, they could have invested that money in making Ibrox a lot better stadium with a proper food court. If you ever come over to Nashville, you'll see how the Americans run it. The whole stadium is a shop walking around. You're buying shirts, they're buying everything. Their marketing is tremendous, so forth. And they make too many mistakes. They give people too much money, too long contracts, like Tavernier long contracts, too much money. You know what I mean? When does he ever get sent off for taking somebody right out because he's upset with the game? No, I mean, never. He's just too soft, and we've let him get away with murder. And the tactics around him, we've got to wait till he comes from one side of the foot to take a corner, to take a throw in, to do this. Get the ball moving fast. See Dowell, he gets the ball in midfield, passes. We could do it with him, but these guys don't want to play in Scotland after a few years. They want to get back to England. So, and also, if you look at the centre back, I can't remember his name, from Millwall. I've watched him a lot of times. He wins everything in the air. If they'd have spent money on him, they would stop all these Scottish teams trying to muscle. Get the guys that can muscle them out in the games, bring them in for the Scottish games. You could do that easily to buy players in Scotland. I think they'd make I don't know what the problem is. Too many mistakes, decisions, and everything, and the managers as well. I think Barry's tried well, but if you get players at down tools, you know what I mean? They're getting paid plenty of money. It's a disgrace, by the way, the way they get beat. And Queen's Park was a disgrace, by the way. Anyway, and also the guy. If you look at, we're talking about a European player, the Malmo centre back. He was Bosnian or something. He plays with Sheffield United. He wins everything. Sheffield United. He wins everything there. There's guys that are great headers of the ball, but we get the guy, what's his name, the Dutch guy we've got, who's too soft.
Proper.
What?
Proper. I think Proper, to be honest, I'll come to Port. I think Robin Proper at the start was a bit unsure. He was getting bossed about a bit. I think, although he's not been in the team for a couple of games, but I think when he has a good game, there's other players always have standouts in the team. I remember he had a good couple of games at Ibrox and a bounce. We were keeping clean sheets, but Raskin was a standout that day. Czerny was excellent that day. And other players, Sean, which people were talking about, rather than Proper, where his positional sense, he won his duels, his passing was good. He just played a decent game, which you would expect, but he didn't get any. Nobody's really going to praise you, but they always remember it. Obviously, when you make the mistake, that's when it gets mostly highlighted.
That's why Proper always stands out, mate, because people always remember the bad things you do. Don't really remember if you're in a steady game. I don't really remember if you have a decent game, because what we expect for a Rangers centre half is to go out and dominate, win every challenge in there and on the deck. Proper, I do think he's a bit soft for your league, mate. I think he's more suited to the European side of our game. I've seen him shining. I've seen him looking better in Europe. Always played at a position on the left-hand side of the defence, never really had a crack on the right-hand side. So again, that doesn't suit him either, because he's always, you know what it's like, passing it with your right foot up that left channel, sort of gives away a lot of balls. Not making excuses, mate. I just don't think he's good enough for the league, and I think he'll find himself in Holland again in the summer. I think there'll be clubs in Holland who'll take him in a minute. Be the captain, the previous captain, his club over in Holland. So I don't think we'll have a problem moving him on. But you know, when we play as a unit, mate, and we play well and play as a team, we've seen it. We've seen it. Southside. This team are capable of a very good games. We've beat teams that probably on form of the right beating, but that's a frustrating thing for everybody to see. The consistency is an absolute killer. We do lovely, you know, we run a couple of games where we look, this looks like we might win. You know, the switch is finally switched on. You know, the players are finally woken up, and then Hibs happens. It just deflates you, mate. It flattens you, and that's how I think you got the reaction for Barry that you did see, mate. And I tell you, see if it wasn't televised, I'd love to see what he said in the dressing room, because what we saw on the telly, in my opinion, was a mild version. He deserved it. I think he deserved to get more than they gave him. But again, he's probably looking at, you guys have thrown many managers under a bus. You've got guys they've basically sacked for their job. You're not making me look like an idiot. And that's why he's reacted the way he is, because him being a Rangers fan as well, mate, bled for the club, captain of the club, he's not accepting that, mate. And us as fans aren't either. We're not being fooled anymore, Southside. We are not being fooled by any of this. AK touched on it earlier on. Steven Gerrard gets a 55, and we expect to kick on, and we expect the tables to turn. And it's been the last 10 years, the last decade at the club again. It's been falter after falter, manager after manager. You know, blueprints ripped up, restarted, new players coming in, ripped up, restarted. And I keep saying it on the show, mate, since we've started finding out about the 49ers investment stuff. This is going to be a slow burner, mate. I keep saying it, it's going to be a slow burner. And we shouldn't expect immediate success. But as long as we see some sort of success, some sort of improvement on the field, mate, we'll be happy. And I think we can live with that, because we know it can't happen overnight. But in the meantime, mate, it's all about what's left of the season, and we have to get some pride back for the next generation of players to come in, and you know, the next pair of the managers are going to be coming in, mate, under this new regime. So you know, the season's done, mate, as far as I'm concerned, apart for Europe. But professional pride is what it has to be all about, and go out there and let's see what we can deal with the last 9 games, mate.
Well, that's what I kept trying to say last week, when Albert was the opinion of, and that's a good thing about the show, everybody can come on and give their opinion, and we can agree or disagree, but he was the opinion of just dropping a lot of the players, because for him Thursday was the most important game, AK, so he was willing to do that. And that's what I keep saying, you're wearing that Rangers jersey, and it's about pride. You can't get into this that your standards drop, and although they have been dropping, it's down to Barry's can only install what's in there. It's, as I said before, it depends on how they take it forward for the ones that will remain at the club.
Absolutely. I mean, going back to Neil McCann's presser there last week, speaks well. Same as Barry, you know, the two of them are in the media. The two of them are quite, attuned to what they have to say and what not to say and things like that. They said there, it's about winning at this club. A draw isn't acceptable, and we're trying to get that message through to the players, you know, because obviously they've not been listening to Clement, they've not been listening to Bale, not been listening to Gio, even though he played with the club. Geez, even Gerrard was saying it the years ago. There are too many inconsistencies with this team. They don't get it. For the first 2 years, Gerrard was trophyless. You know what I mean? So this hasn't been just this season where it's unravelled. That has been in our dressing room now for the best part of 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And there's only one consistency in there, and it's James Henry Tavernier. Whatever his influence is on that dressing room, it's carrying on to the park, and that needs to get addressed. It needs to be took out. I mean, for the buy that James Tavernier was, fantastic. But the stats and everything are there to be, you know, applauded. The goal scoring, the assists, everything bar defending, everything bar doing his job. I think Walter would have, you know, either moved him into midfield years ago, or a stronger manager would have moved him into midfield years ago, recognised the deficiencies of the defender, or moved him on. See, when it's becoming a detriment to the team being successful, that's no a good, cog in the wheel for a team. Butland's had these moments with clean sheets. Raskin's had these moments with good performances. Essers with goals, even Niganani, fleeting appearances, but nothing's coming together at the same time, and that's been a problem for a few years now.
Isn't it? Because you're rabbiting on, the tune's getting late now. If all the troops are waiting for the tune, and you're rabbiting on. So, if you gentlemen, James Stein the call, if you gentlemen would like to go on mute, it's time to hear the tune.
I hear the takes are a cheating. I hear they run the GCC. I hear the titles are tainted. And I hear they pay the SFA. Because we're bits and true, and we're Rangers through and through. We all knew Big Jock knew. I hear they try to hide the story. I hear to this day they still deny. I hear it's swept beneath the carpet. We all know the Tigs were born a lie. Because we're bits and true, and we're Rangers through and through. We all knew Big Jock knew. Tell your story, then maybe you'll sleep at night. Why don't they pay the victims money? But then I don't suppose that's right. Because we're bits and true, and we're Rangers through and through. We all knew Big Jock knew. Because we're bits and true, and we're Rangers through and through. We all knew Big Jock knew.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye, I don't know if any's actually noticed it. The papers have been a bit shy with it, but I seen something that one of their supporters, a 54-year-old granddad, was battered allegedly by a couple of the Green Brigade. Seemingly, by reports, kicked him downstairs. He's in pretty a bad way because he bought a badge at a Israeli stall, and he had it pinned on himself at the Celtic game against Hearts. So, just something else that doesn't always come to the light or doesn't get much thing, but shocking, innit? Poor.
Are you surprised, mate? Are you surprised?
No.
Nah, a classless, club with any moral standing, mate. That's all I'll say on the matter, mate. But absolute disgusting behaviour, as always. I don't know why politics has got anything to do with football, mate. I don't know why you bring it to your football ground, sitting on something I like to see at all, mate. But animals, mate, animals.
Can I say something on that? It's nothing about that. There's nothing about, but the tune they played is a song I'm learning at the moment, Bad Moon by Creedence Clearwater Revival. So when I learn it, can I sing the tune to you on my guitar?
Sure can, James. I told you before, you can play any time on this show. Didn't I?
I'll make sure.
You'll just need, I know the colours of Tennessee, right? But next time you're sending fridge magnets, you want to change the colour a wee bit if you can.
Well, they're gone. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for your Rangers Ibrox Park. I've got a new picture frame for it. It's going up soon. And I know you sent it a while, but I'm going to put it up. But it's funny how you played that song, and that's the song I'm learning.
Well, I'm sure you'll get it together soon. AK, your thoughts on anything across the city?
I've not been on for a while. The Celtic Boys Club scandal, I've not had a chance to speak about that. Shocking, mate. Shocking. I mean, they're under the impression that that's it, done. Celtic are this wonderful club, this gesture that they've gave to the victims. It's not finished. That's just hush money for the 30 victims that took them, taking them to court for the civil action case. I believe 20 of them have accepted, 70% have accepted. There's another 300 odd victims in behind that. So 10 of them, I hope they get them to court. They get to tell their story and just expose Celtic for what they are. You know, show them to the world the pain, the humiliation, the embarrassment that they victims have had to carry throughout their whole life. I mean, some of them have took their life because they couldn't deal with it anymore. It's beyond words, mate. It's beyond words. 50 years Celtic have refused to accept any responsibility for that, and they think, you know, throwing a few million out here just to keep hush money, to keep it out of the court, the good name of Celtic Football Club out the court. It's scandalous, mate, what's going on there, and it needs exposed. And the press, you know, they've suddenly went into remission again. You know, that they mentioned it on the TV, they've mentioned it on Radio Clyde, but you're not allowed to speak about it. Don't speak about it because they've been found guilty of nothing. I just hope the victims get their day in court, they get to tell their story, and they get the guilty verdict that they all want, and then that opens a gateway for all the other victims that's been out there and carried that burden through their whole life. Celtic Football Club, you should be ashamed of yourself. Silence is acceptance. Justice for the victims.
Aye, even could they pass it on to their players. I remember Near Beaton didn't have much to say about them once he'd left, and at the time he was at the club, and even Abada, when he was actually playing no bad for them, had to leave the club and all. But again, there was a silence for the press and that. He didn't play games. He was apparently injured or not in the right frame of mind. You know why he wasn't in the right frame of mind? Because the minute he walked out that tunnel onto the park and you look across there, you don't see anything but Palestinian flags. So I think that might be a case in point in how much they were supporting that cause. Well, they had a player into it and further at the time playing for them, and you can, so they hunted him at the club and all, but nothing was ever said about it. AK, that's just facts, you know.
No protection for employees, Southside, you know what I mean? You expect, you know, employees here at work, you know, that's their place of work, and the club put absolute lies out to say, you know, not in the correct frame of mind, injuries. I mean, Abada's form was outstanding. We've got to be honest, let's call it, and B-Top was a big part of our success as well. Two players that done well for that club, and they were chased out because of a section of fans, mate. It's just, I don't know, it's just, again, mate, it's just a club like no other. You know what I mean? It just beggars belief, mate, how they treat the people of their own. You know what I mean?
Aye, it's just, like I say, the press chose to ignore it. They never ever took up the story, but everybody else could see what the case was with Abada, and obviously had to leave. But aye, always cheated, never defeated. But anyway, back to the famous. James, I'll come to you, as we were talking about James Tavernier. He's been at this length of time at the club, and normally over the years when players get to, although none in the last 20 years, they usually get a testimonial at Ibrox. So do you think it's fitting? I think that he should get a testimonial when the time comes, if he's still here at the club for one more season, unless they game it, because his players have left and still had a testimonial after it. So I know he's in the Hall of Fame, which I think they should have kept until his playing career had finished. But you think it's fitting that we should offer him a testimonial?
Yeah, I've said before, I've got nothing. Tavernier's a very nice person. He's a good example of he's never really angry when he's doing a press conference. He's probably quite humble, a person. It's just, I think, sometimes, he's a bit weak in the defending, right? So I would give him a testimonial because he did. 55 will always be remembered as one of the greatest years, one of the greatest wins in the league. 55, because we celebrated it in Nashville, me and the family, with the flags, and we had a video of it. So it was a great time. It's just a pity we've not done it afterwards. But yeah, I would give him a testimonial. But I think his time is running out. Whether he'll stay to this next year, I don't know. But yeah, I would give him it. Yeah.
Aye. I don't know if you were up at it, James. 16th of 4th, 1978. John Gregg's testimonial at Ibrox against a Scotland select.
I don't think I was there. I don't think I was there that game. You're not having I've said it, I'm not I can make it. You're not having your usual get together at the Honest Halls, because that was good, the one I went to a few years ago.
Aye, I don't know, but there's been a lot of things happening in the background and stuff, so I don't know if we'll maybe have one towards the end of the year or no. This time more than the next. It's nothing planned at the moment, but we look at things all the time.
James, that wasn't the Orange Halls, that was the Church of Scotland Hall.
Was it? All right.
Yeah, it wasn't an Orange Hall, actually. It wasn't, you say that. No, I think when you look through some of the list of players, like obviously John Gregg, got a testimonial, Colin Jackson, for his time at Rangers from 1963 to 1982. He played 506 games for the club. Also, Tam Forsyth also got a testimonial in 1983. Yeah. Davy Cooper got his in 1988, which I think people against Bordeaux. So there's a few on the list, but usually it was because of longevity of service. You got it for Port, and Tav falls into that bracket, because in modern day football, you're not going to find many players that will stay the 10 years at one club.
It's common practice, mate. 10 years at a club, and, for longevity, that's what they get. They get a testimonial, they make a bit of dough, they have a nice day with the family and the players. John Gregg, that's all before my time, buddy. David Cooper, McCoist, Gough, they're all ones that, again, are near my time, and every one of them deserved a testimonial. Tav's longevity is for what he cost the club, what he's done for the club. He's been a captain. He gets it, in my opinion, mate, for longevity. And, I've been at the club for 10 years. That's common practice, mate. I think it's a thing in the past. You very rarely see it anywhere, because, as I said, football's changed dramatically. They're out to make the most money in the shortest period of time as they can. As I've said it before, a lot of them are mercenaries in football now. They just want to make dough. It's not about longevity at a club. It's like usually 2 to 3 seasons and they're off to the next one to make more and more money. And depending on how their careers go, whether it's on an upwards trajectory, they'll always make more money. But some, just are footballing nomads, if you like. They just wander about in the clubs with no heart, no desire, no passion for the club. They just go and make money from club to club. I don't think it's anything you see at Ibrox soon, mate, again, after this one. But for his longevity alone, mate, it gets his testimonial for me.
I think we're using the motto, Port. come and sign for us, Young, and we'll flip you in a couple of years for big money. So on that theory, AK, there's nobody going to be 10 years at our club again.
No, you're right, and Port's right. You're going to be highly unlikely that any pro's going to be making, because it was a monetary factor, wasn't it? When days going by, John Gregg and all them, even though they were highly paid, the working man, they still weren't highly paid for, that was them retirement, and they didn't need to work again for the rest of their life, So, but now they can make a lifetime of money in that 10 year and never afford to work again. They're in a privileged position. Tavernier, as I say, he's been a fantastic buy. When you look at the money that we paid out on him and the stats that he's gave us back, it's just obviously the reward, the captaincy of our club, the trophy return isn't good enough. So because of that, the longevity, he's first on the radar when fingers are getting pointed, and that's just football.
Periods of time domestically, John Gregg wasn't very well decorated to a point. If you look back, James, his time as captain at the club, he's got the European trophy in there. We get that, and Tav could have had one as well if it wasn't for penalty kicks. I mean, he could have actually, all that squad could have went on and had a European medal, but it's not what you could have got, it's what you actually get at the end of it. But I think he's not the type of captain that, I've always said, my captain, as much as Richard Gough for me, I thought he was excellent. I thought he led by example. I thought he was a leader. He commanded, he stood out in big games, he scored goals in big games at times, but he led by example, drove the team. And I think Barry was the same. He epitomised more. He was more pulling players. I mean, he's telling Arthur Newman, you're at Rangers now, it doesn't matter what you've done elsewhere, it's here the standards, and drove the standards. So he epitomises everything I wanted in my Rangers player. But I just wonder if this squad and mentality of some of them have actually going to take this forward with them while they're at this club and start to drive the standards, because we don't have many captains we can say on the park. And well, no captains, leaders. Just leaders, James, innit? Leaders.
Yeah. Can I just say something? I wanted your opinion on the panel. Do you think Ryan Kent should have scored that goal against Eintracht Frankfurt? I thought he should have maybe got his leg broken to score the goal. What do you think? Or was he offside? Could have been offside.
The one when Riff cuts it back to him.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I remember it well, James. I think he has to break his neck if he's wanting to get on it, mate. I think he was just caught on his heels. I just think he was just. I think he didn't anticipate Roof's cutback, mate, and I think that's why he doesn't get anywhere near it, in my opinion, mate. But if he anticipates it, then it's a tap in, mate. But he didn't anticipate it. That's what settles top end finishers, strikers, forward players to guys just under that sort of bracket, mate. Like McCoy's would have anticipated that, and Roof would have. If it was Kent cutting it back, Roof would have anticipated that and probably got that goal, mate. But it was the other way about. It
was a fine margin, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and a fine margin, and even if I was thinking, even we had Butland in goals, we might have won that just for the penalties alone.
And that's how different Tav's career could have been, Troops.
Yeah.
If Tav could have lifted that trophy, we'd be sitting here going like, well, regardless what he's won in the league and domestically, he's picked up a European trophy. You know what I mean? It's fine margins, James, in careers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was just unlucky. Just unlucky that game. I always think of that game. If it had just been a wee bit quicker, we'd have won that. I would have been happy. But also, I think the club, I just wanted to say, the club went through terrible times with Murray and Craig White. I think that unsettled us for years, and it wasn't the Rangers supporters' fault. It was the board that made tremendous mistakes. People should realise that the supporters of the club did nothing wrong. And that's why we paid all these years in the lower leagues and all that.
Aye. I'll cut across you, James, because I've been joined by Shug. How you doing, Shug?
Oh, I'm not so bad, mate. How's yourself?
Aye, good to hear you, mate. Good to hear you. You've got AK and Port Bear and James from Tennessee on the call, pal.
All right. Oh, well, it's great to hear all of you anyway. But I'd just like to say this. You've always got to remember, pal, you know, as bad as times go, we also can get good times. And the good times will come back. But you just have to keep believing, and they will come back. Because we're the best team in Scotland, and they know that. You can already see the cracks beginning to appear with them. Rodgers the other day, he didn't know where to put his head. He didn't want to know whether to put it in his hands or wherever. The good times are around the corner. Keep believing, because we are the strongest institution in Scotland.
Shug, sorry, I'll go to Port on that, Shug, and then I'll come to AK.
Well, Shug, how you doing? Keep believing, eh? We're going to call you Marvin McElroy for the rest of the time now. Marvin McElroy, keep believing.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. I do think there's certainly better times ahead. Obviously, we've all been craving it for investment. Everybody's all known over the last 10 years or so that investment's been probably our biggest killer, because, and I'm not slagging the current board, they're financially tired, mate. The amount of money we were expecting to go in wasn't going in. The guys done a great job to keep our club, you know, going, and they've served their purpose up until now. But I think if we need to take, for the next step we would need to go on, and to again start getting domestic dominance and starting putting, you know, trophies back in the cabinet, I think we had to get investment. And I know people are wary, I get it, because we don't know enough about these people that's coming into our club. But it's got to be better getting investment in, Shug, now than continuing the way we're going on, because there was just no way forward, mate, the way under the current regime. It had to be a new regime. It had to be, you know, major investment pumped in by, I've been crying out for it, you know, whether it be Far East investors or American investment, you know, teams. But it had to happen, mate. It had to happen. So I agree with you. I do think there's better times ahead, mate.
Shug, 10 years ago, roughly, 10 years ago, we got the club back. Dave King and the Three Bears got the club back after Charlatans and the spivs that had it and what they were systematically doing to our club. And now we're 10 years down the line. They done what they could probably, but at the end of the day, we're looking to possibly sell the club lock, stock and barrel 10 years down the line. I would never have thought that, Shug, when Dave King and the rest of them, John Gilligan was standing there at the time, saying we've got our club back, you know.
Neither would I say, but at the end of the day, mate, you know, sometimes in life things crop up that you just don't see. You don't even envisage it in your heart. You don't even know where it's come from. Sometimes it just comes out of the sky. You know, it's just what it is. But Rangers is still too big a club not to survive, because the point is there's only really one other competitor we've got. And once we drag them down, which they're going slowly, they're sinking slowly but surely. And believe you me, the times are better for us around the corner. I believe that. And I'm not going to change my mind on that.
No, sure. No, we're all hoping that this will be a good investment. Because around about this time, 40 years ago, James, it was Graham Souness that was coming in the door when it was announced that. Aye, on you go, Shug, and I'll come to James.
I believe. What I've heard a few things on the grapevine, and I've talked to a very good friend today, and I believe if he's going down the line that I think he's going to go down, I think we're going to really go places, because I think there's a team in England that we're going to flourish off. I'm not going to mention no names. I'm not going to mention the team, but I just believe that. I believe that that's the way it's going to go.
I think we've got to wait, James, for director of football to come in. Whether he gets to, or I guess they'll probably have that in the pipeline. This should all be worked out. You're only talking about a matter of maybe weeks, 6 to 8 weeks at the end.
Well, I'm led to believe it could possibly be 4 to 5 weeks.
Aye, right, Shug, all right. So, James, Shug's thinking 4 to 5 weeks. So, you'd think everything else in the background for them coming in should all be in place, more or less, just to come in and make an announcement. You're on mute. You're on mute, James.
Fox put you on mute, James. We was getting feedback off you.
Okay. Is that okay now?
That's you now.
That's you, mate.
Right. Well, I think they'll have things in place, things going on. If they're spending that type of money on taking over the club, they're very organised, the Americans. They make decisions quickly, and they're professional in the way they run clubs, to be honest, because some of the college stadiums here are 100,000 people just for a college football, their American football game. So they're taking over a lot of clubs in Europe, and I think they'll do a good job. And that's what we need, something like that. And then we can think of the good times of them taking us over, and forget the Craig White carry on. And that would be good, because I was reading, sometimes I look at the Celtic comments, and they were really trashing them. They said, we are fortunate that Rangers are so poor, and we would be in big trouble. And they're right. If Rangers was half decent, we'd have won the league, because they're nothing great. Yeah, I think things will be moving on. Yeah.
I'm just laughing. Somebody's listening to the show, obviously, when we're talking about Seville. I just get a text in saying if it wasn't for Goldstone today, it was clear that effing ball and we would have been all right. So Goldstone's copping it, and not just the penalty kicks, AK.
Aye, quite right, I know. That wouldn't be a fair certain Mr. Allbear, would it?
No.
He's right enough. If Goldstone cuts that ball out, we don't even need to worry about penalties. It would have won that final 1-0.
Yeah, that's right.
Can't change the past now. But no, listen, Shug, it's good to have you on again. And I think the mindset of the Rangers supporters ingrained in us. We were young kids, we are dads, we are granddads, our uncles, our pals, and we pass it on from generation to generation. No surrender. That's it. We don't give up. We certainly don't give up in our club. We've been through some trouble. Of course we have. We thought we'd seen most of the trouble behind us when we won 55. But years of mismanagement. This is where I disagree with you, Port. I think the board have gave a lot of money to our managers, our director of football, but our recruitment has been our Achilles heel. We've bought badly. We've rewarded poor players with big contracts. All the European money that we've made, all the big money that we made after Calvin Bassey, Aribo, Kamara, we've squandered with poor buys. So we're partly to blame as well. Douglas Park listened to the wrong people for me. Ross Wilson, Stuart Robertson as your main characters, but they're gone. They're off into the night, scuttled free. Didn't get questioned at an AGM. Where were we going? What was their direction? Why were we not buying these players when we needed them? Why did we not kick on? That's where we started to come unravel. And then Celtic go and get Rodgers, they kick on, or they went and get Postecoglou first. They threw money at him big style, and they won back the right to get into that Champions League. That's where we failed. That's where I pinpoint it. but these court cases are going to smash them. Their financial advantage that they had over us for years, where we've been, you know, in the doldrums, that's going to reverse, Shug, and that's where I see the things changing. The Americans will come for them, and that's where it flips, and we become the top dogs again.
Alex, I'm going to say one thing to you, mate, right? Now, I fervently believe this. They're no better than us, and the thing is, they know who's coming for them, and they're frightened, and you can already see on Rodgers' face. You only have to look at him and look at their model, and their model is crumbling. It's like a broken house with smashed windows everywhere. They're broke. The fans are already broke. The fans are arguing and battering each other like there's no tomorrow. But where are the breadboards? They'll be out again soon.
A lot of that mob, Shug, a lot of that mob didn't want him back in the first place, you know what I mean? And a lot of them would probably be happy to see him go, and a lot of them are probably annoyed with him as it is. But at the end of the day, we've got to get a manager in that's going to see we can't get in the same pitfalls, Port, like we say. We can't be getting a Sam Lammers in the door, you know. These type of signings, even Dessers to a point, you know, as much as we've got to get away from that.
Sometimes you get players like Marvin Andrews, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's not a great player, but he'll give you 150% effort. I mean, look at your Stuart Monroes of the past. You know, people like that they know they're not great players, but they play with the heart. They play for the shirt. Every time they pull the shirt on, they're proud of everything they do for that shirt. They know they're not fantastic players, but they'll give you their all. And if they give you their all, that's all we can ask. We can't ask any more. If we get us all off them, we can't ask any more. But we have to back them. When they give their all, even though it might be poor, we have to back them as well.
Right, Shug, well, if you look at our squad, Port, the new, and Shug's talking about players like that, if you use Suter, Connor Barron as an example, Suter, and probably Lyle Cameron that's coming in, there's like three players that know the Scottish game. They should give their all. They're Rangers supporters, but it's levels, and whether they're going to be any good or no, or can play in a team, it needs to be set out properly in a style of play. That's what we've got to look at, innit?
Bang on, mate, bang on. There's no secret to it, Southside. For most successful times at our club, we always did a scattering of very good Scottish players, you know, decent, you want to call them journeymen at times as well. What we always took, the best there was available in the league, but we used to always take your, as I call them, water carriers, what I did in the pitch. You know, maybe not as skillful as your European player, but they gave it all. They'd run through a brick wall for you. And then we used to add a bit of European flair, like your Mikhailochenkos, Kanchelskis, Newmans, all these sort of Giovanni and Broncos. But like I say, mate, there's no surprise, there's no secret. Our most successful times is when we always had a decent core of Scottish players that understood the league. That's not a secret, mate, and I think that's the way to go forward.
I think the time for me, James, what I've seen the most successful managers, apart from Advocate, obviously, because he had a lot of money to spend, but they were British managers, Scottish managers. That's where we've had the most success under.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So we can get a good Scottish manager that understands the club, or somebody who really loves the club. It's going to be a great start. But I'd agree that things are changing. I think we get the investment, we will win the league. It'll be 56 next year. Even Arsenal are doing really well, by the way. Really fantastic.
The thing about it is, James, you've just said it right. But as AK touched on, he touched about the old board putting in a lot of money, but the money was wasted. That seems to be what you said, AK, earlier on. It's all right having money, but you need to be able to spend it wisely. You need to have somebody. You need to have the structure of how you're going to go. And I think you will need. I don't go down this road that every player we buy, AK, needs to be 20, 21, 22. If we need to sign a 25, 26-year-old, and give him a 3-year deal, and he plays for the 3 years, and he plays well, and we get our money's worth at him. I'm not too fussed whether he's resellable. We need to get a core of a team together, knitted, sustainable, and be winning. That's what we need to get into this squad.
Aye, listen, 100% right. But I think the guys are making valid points. Yourself, you know yourself. The Scottish League, we cherry pick. We've afforded to cherry pick. We've been doing it for decades. You know, that's how we get the likes of Jim Baxter and to come to the club, and Ali McCoist and Andy Gorham, Richard Goff. They didn't come through our academy or our reserve teams or that. You know, but they go to our club because they were brought up on it. They knew the standards, and they accepted it. They embraced it. They wanted to go out there and play for that crowd. You know, the character is a big thing to play for our club. I mean, there's a quote there for Bill Struth for years ago. I don't know what player he was talking about, but it applies to them all. We know you're a good player, son, but you got to be a good player for the Rangers. It's a difference. There's a massive difference for the expectations, and that's what drives the character. The jersey, the weighty expectation, everything. All the luxuries are there, the medals are there, the trophies are there. If you're good enough to play for our club and accept the responsibility, the weighty expectation on your shoulders, but go out there instead of crumble, you know, and fall into your shadow. We go a goal down. You go to your guys run about the team, come on, get back into this game, and we'll show who the better players in here. But we go a goal down to St Mirren, or Motherwell, or Hibs, or even Queen's Park, and we fold. That's no Rangers players, and I think that's where Barry's getting it. That's no a Rangers team that we're watching now. So there's going to be a huge change, you know, mentality in that dressing room to get to where we want to be.
Well, Barry said it himself, we're miles off it just the other day, in his opinion, looking at the dressing room, and he's right in amongst it, beside all the players. And I do believe, Shug, he said at the start a lot about we are thinking and watching the team and knowing to a point, although we're no football managers, we're all football managers out there in their own right, and we try and say, but we don't really have a clue until you've got the badges and you know what you're actually doing, let's be honest. We're only forming an opinion. But I think now, Shug, would you be, see if we go to Aberdeen and we play the next 5 games after that, would you like to see him change it about, play your young NCL, give him some game time, let's see how he is, maybe try the boy Fernandez?
I'm going to say something here, and this might not go down very well, but personally myself, I don't think Barron's good enough. Look, I've looked at him for long enough now. I don't think he's good enough. I think in the interviews that we give, we don't put out enough experienced players that actually know the Scottish game and talk about the Scottish game and talk about how strong Rangers are as a club, even though we don't look strong. I just feel that we're not using the qualities that we do have. There may not be many, but we're not using them in the right shape or form, I don't think.
I think it's easy, Port. Like we've said on here before, we're looking to go and probably buy players at 21, 22 and all this. And like I said, I know Bailey Rice is a bit younger. Finlay Curtis is a bit younger in the 18 bracket. But even the boys that we've put out in loan, and Robbie Fraser and Cole McKinnon, it's 2 boys. They're at that age, they're 22 or slightly older. So at the end of the day, we're actually going to be giving these boys away. We say they're no good, but we're bringing in foreigners, and some of them are not performing at all. And some of them, you're saying you paid $4 million for him. You've shelled out $4 million. How no try and develop the boys? My argument is you're only going to develop these boys if you're trying to give them some game time. And when it's crucial to give them game time and help their development, it's probably now, going forward to the end of the season. Because come the start of next season, if we get a good influx of players, and it's all right saying that if they're good enough, they'll get there. But we'll be buying in players and we'll be giving them big contracts. And then it'll just come down to, well, he'll play every week whether his form's bad or no. That's what really annoys me, Port.
Well, that's what's happening now, mate. You've got, you know, I've always said this, mate, and I strongly believe in it. If you're good enough, you're old enough. That's my opinion. In Scotland, we seem to wait till players are 21, 22, 23, 24 before we start bleeding them. In the English Premiership, we're seeing 16-year-olds. Wayne Rooney, 16-year-old, bursts onto the scene. Michael Owen was 16, just 16 and a half when he burst onto the scene. You've got Bukayo Saka, who's playing the Champions League tonight. The young boy Skelett plays at left back for Arsenal, again playing Champions League tonight. Why do we insist on going foreign, mate, paying big wages to these people when they come in and they're absolute prima donnas? Well, we've got young guys who must be so disillusioned at Scottish clubs, top Scottish clubs, wondering when they're going to get their chance, mate. Why do we wait so long to bleed them? I've never understood it. I've never understood it in the Scottish game, mate, and especially at our club, Rangers. We keep boys for so long, and then they end up going to another club and they seem to thrive when they leave our club. I think last one, the one I can remember is Danny Wilson. Gets promoted to the youth club, does really well in the first team and gets a move to Liverpool. That's the way it should be, Southside. But I don't know if you agree, guys. Do you not think we seem to want to bleed Wayne's young club, young team players too late? Why are we waiting until they're in their 20s, Southside? I don't get it. I don't get it at all, mate.
We've done it. Aye, listen, I'll come to AK. Listen, we done it. Remember, we signed Mikhailichenko. Was running European football in centre midfield. He comes to Rangers, going to Parkhead. They absolutely battered him up there. He ran the show. Was doing it for the national team and everything. And he comes to us and he gets said, "No, you can't play centre midfield. You need to play wide left." Exactly. It's madness. It is absolute madness, and it frustrates me. And see, for a young boy, all players are going to dip in form at the age group that we've got our players at. Even the ones that we're talking about now, like Raskins, like Connor Barons, like Yefties, like Diamandis, and like Diamande, where they're going to drop and dip for them at certain times. But why not try and progress some of your own players who have been at the club a long time, know what it means to play for the club, are dying to play for the club, and will go out and show you heart and desire. And they might lack a bit of ability, but it's down to us to make them better players, and it's down to us to make them and advance their careers. And they could maybe move, and if they've got a desire to move later on, if they're doing well, and go and progress their career, and we'll make a right few quid. Whereas we've got two players in there that now, like Diamande and Cortez, for talking's sake, and Bajrami, that we've paid 4.3 million, although Bajrami's more experienced, and you'd think he'd have been doing better. But Diamande and Cortez is best part of close to £9 million shelled it. Yet we're not prepared to try and give some of our youngsters. Even Paul Miso, the boy that's in the midfield of the B team, he could be developed and all. It's just, it annoys me, that we'll not try it and try and get them into the squad. We just want to keep going and buying their way out of trouble.
And that's part of the problem, Southside. That's a big part of the problem. And the money you've mentioned there in the transfer fees for the players that were brought in, too much. It's too much, and this is part of our problem. We think we can buy ourselves out of this position because we need to try and be competitive with Celtic to win every trophy. We need to be trying competitive in Europe, and all of a sudden the money that we've invested into the academy just gets, we must have wasted tens, hundreds of millions on that academy. For Advocate come in and redone it all, and then Gerrard came in and redone it all again. But the boys haven't got the pathway into the first team, so they're having to get loaned out to get first team experience to kind of bulk them up. We used to have the reserve league years ago. That's the biggest factor, sole factor of Scottish football, getting youth players. They're not interested anymore. They're well rewarded. I mean, some of the players that James spoke about earlier, our academy players are probably on a higher wage than a lot of the players in clubs in Scotland that are getting first team action. And that's part of the problem. They're getting spoiled. So they've had it all. Your Alex Lowry, he's had it all far too much, far too early, and he loses his, motivation. Where's the motivation that comes from within then to try and get first team? But he's already a wealthy young man. He doesn't need to, push himself. But it comes down to what's his ambition as a football player in life. But they're looking at their bank account and they're looking at all these thousands roll in for what effort? Nah, comfort. They're happy with that. Albert spoke about it, a youth club. That's what we've been running at Ibrox for the last 20 years. And that's a big part of the problem. Your own, self-desire to push on, to get that first team jersey. I mean, Bailey Rice was spoke about with the choice between Bailey Rice and Lennon Miller 2-3 years ago with Tame Bailey Rice, and he's festered away in the academy because he's not getting going. Now they're talking about Lennon Miller. Italian clubs are coming for him for £10 million or something like that. Good luck to the boy, because he's decided to fight it out a provincial club rather than see the big city lights at the Rangers or Celtic and then try to go down that road. Turnbull was the same with Celtic, and his career festered as well. So I don't know what the answer is, mate, but there's an influx of European players looking to make a money in the game, but because of that, they're not going out there and trying a leg in some of the games, and that's a big part of the problem for us going forward, because they don't have the feeling for the club the way Barry does, the way we do, the way Derek Johnson did, Ian Durrant did. They don't have that feeling, so you can't instill that into them. It's got to come from within.
That's why I think sometimes all the youth players, Shug, like you say, that academy's been there for that length of time, and because it's a 2-team league that we play in, I just believe that's why we don't blood as many youngsters. I think if the league was slightly bigger, I think there's scope to blood some of your youngsters and play them. But I think, and because we're having to keep chasing the league, because we keep flinging points away at the start of the season in the first game or the second game or the third game, and we're playing catch up for there, then the pressure just mounts on the manager, which forces him not to play the young boys, Shug.
You see, personally myself, I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% with that, but I can see your point. But again, if you look at when we play, these under 16 teams abroad, we do very, very well as young boys, and we get to finals or semi-finals, definitely quarter-finals. And I mean, the thing is, you've got to remember, a lot of them, when they're 16, 17, it's not always about football. It's about girls and wanting to go out and enjoy themselves and flash the big watches, you know what I mean? And if you haven't got a football head on you and you don't want to be number one, you will never, ever be number one. If them players decide, if we get the right infrastructure as manager and said, look, this is the best club in the world, it's the only club in the world that you're ever going to get a chance to win trophies, even European trophies, we're not going to go anywhere. And that pains me to say that. But I don't believe that. I believe we are going somewhere. But I think we're going to probably have to give it a year for us to put the structure in place, and then we will go places.
Aye, it's all about that. James, how do you think Barry will set the team up on Thursday? Do you think he'll go a back three? Do you think he'll go a four? How do you see him setting it?
I think he'll maybe do a 3-5-2, 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, 2 up front. And I would agree, I wouldn't play Dessers. I play Egerman up centre forward and don't play Dessers. He's been off form. And I would give Kelly the goal, because the other guy.
Have you seen the size of their centre backs?
No.
James, they're right physical, but I'd go with Ignaman up top. I think Port. I think we need to do something different. I think it would suit Dessers to play up front against them because they are big and physical, and I think he would probably take a bit of it. But Ignaman, I just think if you get him into the right positions, Port, if he's got his back to goal, they'll just come right through the back of him, and that we might pick up a foul here and there, but you need him to be running the channels that Dessers does, because the one thing nobody can deny, Dessers finds chances, he makes chances, balls just come in his direction, because he's only took one in 16, so that just proves the fact he gets himself into goal scoring chances.
Aye, he does, mate, he does. But I watched the Sevilla and Atletico game, and you're right, with the centre halves, they're big and strong and physical. but they're not very mobile, mate. And I'm thinking, as much as Dessers leads for the front and starts to press, and his work rate's phenomenal, I just think we need something a bit more than that, mate. And I think Igaman gives you that. I think he gives you, he gives you that ability to have that a bit of magic, a bit of a trick. If a chance falls to him in the box, mate, he's an instinctive finisher. You've seen a goal, against Celtic when he smashed it in the roof of the net. He is capable of that. Less frustrating to watch, I touched on it, last week on the show. Dessers at times makes me smile, mate, and I want I root for the guy to be that striker that we need, a real Rangers number 9. But I've watched enough of him, mate, to know that he's not the guy that we need to go forward with to win titles and to win big European matches, mate. And I think we should concentrate on our prized asset. And Igaman, I think we put him up front and let him go and work a bit of magic, mate, because he is capable of an absolute, worldies. He definitely is, mate. And there's something like that we'll need to beat Bilbao, mate.
Aye, the two brothers on each wing, the Williams brothers, they're lightning quick.
Yeah.
I actually just watched them the other night for the first time, because I don't usually watch European football on the telly, and I watched it, AK. So we will have to try and combat that, and they've got good movement about their team. They seem to run into the channels and that, and they were quite quick. And the striker they brought on, I heard the commentator say that he'd scored the most goals for them this year, but I also hear that they rotate their goalkeeper for most games, and we're going to get that goalkeeper that played on Sunday will not be the goalkeeper. Apparently it's going to play against us on Thursday, but he's just as good, apparently, according to the guy who was talking about him.
Aye, Bilbao, they've got a good, strong squad. They're no sitting fourth in La Liga for nothing, Just the wee look at they've got 54 points. As I say, sit fourth in the league. Sanchez is a guy that you're on about. He's 24 years old. He scored 13 goals this year. And Aki Williams, Nico Williams, that's their main threat, both left and right. I think we've got to go kind of strong in the full-back area and maybe even double up on them. If you can nullify they two, I think we've got a chance. By the way, don't be surprised if they sit in. With what I've seen them, they played Villarreal there at the weekend, nothing each, it finished. The previous week they played Osasuna, again, nothing each. They're a team that don't score a hell of a lot of goals, but they certainly don't concede goals. They like to pack their defence. They can have a 4-2-3-1, believe it or not, they play, but they can also go 5-3-2, and that's how I see them lining up. So I think we've got to be compact. If it's 0-0, I think that would be okay. It's just it's try to stay in the tie, try to get a goal ahead of them would be even more brilliant. But our form is obviously the concern. I think the Ibrox factor, the crowd will be up for it. The players just need to give a performance to be proud of. That's all we're looking for. It's a two-legged affair. Bilbao are favourites because they're hosting the final. They're a good team. They finished, I think, second in the actual table, the overall table, just on goal difference. But in their last 7 games, they have conceded. So if we can get away with a 1-0 or something like that, that would be a great result for us. But it's all in the night, and we just don't know what team's going to turn up Southside.
I think we've just got to come out with the right mentality, Shug. I think if we come out with the mentality we come out with against Fenerbahce, I just thought that was off. We sat too deep, we sat after them, allowed them to play, and that's the one thing we can't do at Ibrox. We can't allow teams space and time.
It's funny you should say that, because the other day I watched Fulham against Liverpool, and Bassey was outstanding. If we had 5 Basseys, we would dominate Scotland for a long, long time. As that guy, when you're playing against top elite players, or what their class is, top elite players, that guy just puts on another engine. He's like a tank. He's absolutely awesome. And that, we need 11 of them, and a couple of water carriers, and a big, strong, character, a big Jock Wallace type man that says the battle fever's on, and that's what we need.
Aye, I'll go to James. James might find us one of them, James.
That's a strong character.
Aye.
Yeah. Well, as I said, the guy from Millwall is good, or the guy from centre back, he's Bosnian from Sheffield United. I'm just looking at Arsenal have beaten Real Madrid 3-0, and they're showing character. I've never saw Arsenal so good. And Rice scored 2 fantastic goals.
Thanks for letting us on, so we'll miss the highlights then on that, will we?
That's great, James. My curtain's down. Thanks for that.
Well, put it this way.
I was going to watch that too.
If Arsenal can do it, we can do it against the 4th best team in Spain. You know what I mean? So there's hope. There's hope. I think we'll win 2-0 tomorrow. I'm going for it.
Take that, not Thursday night, James. Thursday. Thursday all day, 2-0, and the Thursday night under the lights at Ibrox. Home win, I'll take that, no problem. It's going to be a massive game and a difficult game. They are a good team. They're nowhere they are in that league for nothing. They've got all the incentive to get to the final, to play in their home stadium as well. They've got a mix in their team of young players, and they've got experienced players and players that have played and won league titles elsewhere. And their manager's good, Valverde, seems to have them doing well. So it's a massive game, Shug, but it's one we should all look forward to. Although Ibrox hasn't been great, we'll hope it'll flip for the European night, and it'll just be down to the team's attitude and application and tactics, and hopefully Barry and the troops will have it right on the night, because we'll need that. We need 11 players to turn up and play on the... We'll need 11 players to turn up on the night and play. Can't carry any passengers, Shug.
It's all it's about is a bit of luck here and a bit of luck there. No dodgy refereeing decisions, and we can go all the way. If you don't believe that you can go all the way and you're in the last 8, well, you shouldn't be in the last 8, should you? It's as simple as that. You know, end of the day, they look at us and they think, how does a club like Glasgow Rangers got to the last 8? Don't forget, they'll be thinking about us as well as we're thinking about them. We know. Listen. It's 11 men against 11 men. 11 hearts against 11 hearts. Go out there and fight for it.
Correct, Shug. That's what it's all about, and I'm sure they will. Listen, we're getting to that time, so if you'd like to say your last words, Shug, thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure when you come on to hear you. So hopefully you'll not be a stranger and visit us again shortly.
I hope everything goes all right for everybody. I hope Rangers Radio goes from strength to strength, and I hope our club goes from strength to strength.
Right, Shug, thanks very much. I appreciate it, and thanks for joining us in. And I hope you go from strength to strength, and Ozzy, here goes on like everybody else on the show. So good to hear you on. Shug, as always, all right, pal?
Yeah, sound, mate. Thank you very much.
No bother. James.
Thanks very much for letting me on the programme. It's been a pleasure. I liked Port Bert's comments. If you're young enough, play them. I think he's an excellent point. I enjoyed that. And you're doing a good job. So keep it up, boys. Come on, the Rangers, 2-0 tomorrow.
I think if you see tomorrow morning when you get up, get that beard a wee trim right, or else you'll need to put a wee bit of dye round about the side there. Change the colour a wee bit there.
Yeah, I'm doing my best.
Right, get that guitar out next time, James, and learn that tune.
Well, it'll take me maybe a month, but never know. Near the end of the season, if we win the Europa League, I'll sing it that day.
If we win the Europa League, we'll all be singing, James. Don't worry about that. AK.
Aye, good show tonight, mate. Enjoyed that. Enjoyed being back on. Sabbatical I've been on, my sick bed and what have you, but thanks to Shug and James for coming in there. Good conversation with two of them. How's the lyrics go for that? We all knew, Big Jock knew. Good night, boys.
I had to pull him off his sick bed. Port knows that sick line's been going a bit of length of time now. I think it's still got a wee bit to go by the sounds of it. But no, thanks for coming on tonight, AK, and helping us out along with Port Bear. with James for Tennessee and also Shug. But Port Bear.
Hi mate, Southside superb. Not been on with you for ages, man, as you said earlier on. Thanks to everybody who's listening, Facebook troops, all the YouTubers, mate, as well. James, well done again, mate, and Shug for calling in. Keep believing, not going to forget that. Marvin McElroy. No, mate, I enjoyed that tonight, mate. And looking forward to a good Rangers victory at Ibrox on Thursday night.
Aye. Cheers for Port. I appreciate you being on tonight as well. Thoroughly enjoyed the show with you and AK. I'd like to thank all the YouTube troops out there for joining the show as always. I have been a bit busy tonight. I will read the chat the next time. I'll try and join into the chat. Nunca, all right. And thank James and Shug as always. And thank everybody else for listening. Thanks to the techie team in the background, because without them there is no show. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8 o'clock talking about all things Rangers. So take it away, Fox.